Meeting of January, it's the first one of the year, January 24th, and we will start our meeting. Our first policy is Policy 802, Disposition of Obsolete Equipment and Material, and I guess that's going to be presented by Rachel Gordon, our Director of Technology.
Good evening. I am here with 802, Policy for Disposition of Obsolete Equipment and Material. And I want to say that obviously technology, there's a significant amount of stuff that we do produce as we rotate through our inventory. But this is also a policy that's much larger, so there's a lot of other things that are part of this as well. MSBA updated a few things on this policy, but there are no substantive changes. There's some, if you look at 4B, where the contract's over, it moves up from $150,000 to $175,000. And you'll see that adjustment throughout the policy as a whole. And there is one striking of a legal reference at the back, and that is it. So those are the only changes that are suggested by MSBA and the only suggested changes for our district as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no comment or questions on that policy. And we'll ask our Director Abigail if she does.
Nope, no
Okay.
questions. Thank you, Rachel.
Right. Thank you very much, Rachel. Okay, and moving on to Policy 613, Graduate Requirements by Amina.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, Policy 613, Graduation Requirements. I'd just like to walk you through the changes that have been made to the policy. First of all, you'll notice that it looks as though there's been a lot of significant changes. The policy format and order has been reorganized. So there's less content change as there is reorganization, where it has been taken from one section and then replaced in another. So I'm just going to walk through the policy section by section to identify what is actually new and what is being replaced, with the intent of holding on to our current policy language that is locally determined. So in Section 2, we have added the MSBA language and then removed the historical requirements throughout the policy for students who entered into grade 9 from 2011 to 2016. My reason for leaving 2016-17 in the policy is because that still reaches back to our 7-year graduation rate. So I wanted to keep that entrance year in the policy. Section 3, which are the definitions, we did retain the language of for B, which is completion of a semester, rather than the MSBA language of an academic year, because we do count our credits per semester here in our district. And then item F in that section is being removed to remove the now defunct grad requirement, so that's no longer necessary. Section 4, the district assessment administrator, just making sure that we are drawing the distinction between the actual position, assessment data and research coordinator, and the state designee of district assessment coordinator, and that those two things are not necessarily synonymous, but in this case, that's the person who would be serving as our district assessment coordinator. The graduation assessment requirements in Section 5 replaces our outdated information about grad requirements, the AVSVAD, and other assessment requirements with the general language that leaves it open and very flexible for students from the MSBA policy. Section B, actually Section B through F shows the multiple ways in which a student might meet those graduation assessment requirements, including through the goals of the IEP. It also outlines just the commitment to post-secondary education and post-secondary career planning and making sure that students have those opportunities. And I just want to draw your attention to letter E, in which the MSBA policy indicates grades 11 and 12 for students who are identified to and encouraged to participate in courses or programs that award college credit to high school students, because in our district, we actually have those opportunities for students beginning in grade 9. So I wanted to make sure that our local requirements were reflected there. And then eliminating the other outdated language that is there and is found in the first paragraph of that section. Okay. Section 6, which is our graduation credit requirements. So instead of the numbers that are there, those reflect MSBA's academic year requirements. These numbers that are here are part of our local requirements, and so reflect semester credits. And so you'll see that mixture. I already talked about retaining this 2016-17, and that students will complete 46 high school credits, which aligns with how students are registering. And then laying out those credits in each area. The one area that I wanted to show you that is in addition is C, which is an Algebra 1 credit by the end of 8th grade, sufficient to satisfy the 8th grade standards in mathematics. That is occurring in our curriculum, and it is part of statute and the state standards, so I wanted to continue to include that from the MSBA policy. We do have a change in section B under the 6 credits of mathematics. In our prior policy, we did say that, let's see, including an Algebra 2 credit, so that it might include an Algebra 2 credit, but it identifies that whatever math courses that students take, whatever that sequence is, whatever the names of those courses are, that they are aligned with the standards and allow students to meet those academic credits. And I'll reference that a little bit further when we get to section K. The credits in section E, where we say 7 credits of social studies, then we just used our current language of 2 credits in world history, 2 credits American history, and 1 credit of government, and 1 credit of economics. That's from our current policy, and that does match the progression, the academic progression matriculation that we ask students to do. 2 credits in the arts. And then our current policy and graduation requirements include the 1 credit of health, the 1 credit of physical education, and our Success 191 requirements. So those are a carryover from our current policy. K is a new section for us, and what this does is I wanted to include that language from the MSBA policy because it does open up the opportunities for students to earn some of the credits in math and science with equivalencies in what could be pathways courses. So if students were to follow certain pathways courses in Project Lead the Way or other engineering courses or agricultural courses, if those pathways become available to us and we decide to implement those, students may earn their credits in some of those other pathways courses if they are aligned to the content standards in math and science. So that allows a lot of flexibility for students who may want to earn a math credit, and then they find we have developed an aligned computer science course. They would then be able to switch those out rather than being held back to the basic classes. The remaining sections that are eliminated are simply because they are repeated into they've been moved into section 4, and so it looks like they've all been eliminated, but in that case, they've been moved to section 4, so it's a reorganization. In section 7, the graduation standards requirements allow us to look at the district determined standards, so those are remaining from our current policy, that we determine the standards for health, career and technical education, and the determined standards for world language, with the caveat that we will be aligning, reviewing those standards during their curriculum review schedule, and we will be aligning with the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages for our world language development. I think those are all the significant changes, and then there are updates in the legal references that are included in here as well. So I am open to questions. I realize that was a kind of a long journey through the reorganization of the policy, but the idea was to hold on to those locally determined requirements and continue those through, while at the same time adding in the language from the MSBA policy that allowed for college and career development, and that flexibility in earning credits in other types of pathways courses.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. When reading through it, I do think it's cleaned up quite well.
Good.
The wording. That's just my opinion.
Good, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I do. First, thank you. I always like reviewing this particular policy because it's so important, and I appreciate the additional details that you included. It's a lengthy policy, and I do appreciate that extra time. Question, page 613-4, graduation requirements. I believe arts was inadvertently stricken from language arts as opposed to language.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
On page 613,
-4.
so it'd be 6A. the word-
Yep,
Language.
6A, credits of language versus language arts. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. 613-4, Roman numeral 5, F2. Oh, no later than grade 9 in F2. Is that in the policy still somewhere else? I didn't see it. A student's progress toward career and college readiness must be recorded on the student's high school transcript. That's F. And then 2 is be provided assistance no later than grade 9 in exploration and planning activities for career interests. I wasn't able to find it elsewhere.
Right.
Thought it was when you put grade 9 in other grades.
And you said that's on 613, though?
613-4, yep. Just above Roman numeral 6, graduation credit requirements.
Okay.
So I would say it should move into section 5B.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And wherever you want to insert that, I mean,
You're playing.
Yep, I think consistent with this paragraph in the Minnesota statutes, section 120B.125, see policy 604, section 2H, then I would insert that in that.
that would be
space.
great, yeah.
No later than, Grade
Grade
9.
9, yeah. Thank you. And that's all I had for this one.
Okay.
thank you. Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Amina. It was not.
Okay, and moving on then to policy 527, student use of parking, motor vehicles, patrols, inspections, and searches. And that's going to be presented by our Mr. Beaumont? He's
Where's Chris?
Dr. Bellman? Yep.
by
Okay.
Dr. Chris Beaumont, our Assistant Superintendent, who will be with us shortly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There you go.
Okay, I'm up first on policy 527, student use and parking of motor vehicles, patrols, inspections, and searches. This is the first official time I'm presenting this year for this policy 527 to the committee. As you can look through, there's just some minor content additions. In particular, section 4, when it's student use of motor vehicles in school district locations. The MSBA added some language that just clarifies some of the expectations for students and staff and designated school officials on those, on school grounds and also on any adjacent properties. Other than that, minor revisions to the, or minor additions and clarifications, some added legal references in statute. Also, in section 7, just asks that if the superintendent is, adds any additional directives and guidelines for students, that it's presented to the committee as part of an addendum. Questions on 527?
Yeah, I do. Just to clarify, Roman numeral 4 is coming from MSBA?
Correct.
Really? Because when I think of, no?
It's in blue.
It's in blue.
Yeah. I have
It's a
to-
colored font, and we should see it as something different.
So I think, like, the first time, like, Kelly revised it and just got the references, and then she realized that she was missing stuff and added it again, so then it made it blue.
Got it. So this is entirely,
First time we saw it.
this is entirely coming from MSBA Roman numeral 4.
Correct.
Because as I read it, I did have concerns because I think about our PSEO students that need to come and go. I think about our high school students that volunteer at other schools during the day, need to transport themselves, fundraising events. And this essentially says, if I'm reading it correctly, that the only place that these students may have their cars and use them during the school day is at the high school, and outside of the school day, only at the high school. And I see this as much more limiting if that's the case. And
Yeah, I think
Because
we-
it does say only.
Okay, we'll bring this one back
That
and read
would-
that through. The way I originally read it was that, just as part of a typical school day, students wouldn't be maneuvering vehicles unless there was a reason. But you're bringing up, like, if students are coming at non-traditional times, or if they have appointments or something, so we can work and
Yeah,
clarify that.
that'd be awesome.
We'll bring it back.
Yeah, because certainly, absolutely, we wouldn't want the students just driving around the parking lot
Yeah.
randomly, but.
We'll bring it back to the
Okay,
committee.
awesome. And then the other thing, oh, yeah, within that section, where was it? Oh, designated school official. We'll need to have the name of that person or that title when that comes back.
Okay. Yep, in that same section.
In that same
Okay.
section, yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I
And
just ask, how do you clarify that if it's just a, I just want to,
typically, when there's that kind of reference in policy, there's either a person and a person's name and title, or just a person, a staff title that is like superintendent's designee is often used, right? That's how it's clarified, so that,
Principal or
Or
designee.
yeah, exactly.
So you want it more specific, like a principal as opposed to just a designated
designate,
school
yeah.
official?
Well, either the principal or principal's designee, so that people know what position is technically that
Okay.
role.
So in addition to looking at that, the entirety of that paragraph, we'll make sure if that sentence is in there, that it clarifies a little more.
And the other thing too, and maybe this is just something for you and your team to think about, Dr. Belmont, how this would be enforced. Whatever you end up coming back to the committee with, how will we know that it's going to be enforced? Because as it is right now, and I know you're going to change it, I don't know how you enforce it.
That particular
That
paragraph.
particular paragraph.
Yes, no,
So,
I'm glad you
yeah.
called. Again, like as I read it, I was thinking more about just unusual circumstances and that
Yep.
we're not having, as I read it too, I think some schools, and our school included, that has automotive shops and where students are transporting vehicles in different, that wouldn't be a part of that routine learning. However, you brought up, so we are going to seek clarification from MSBA and just our own internal systems about how to make sure it's really clear, that
Yeah.
language, that additional language.
And, as I've said before, MSBA does a lovely job reviewing policy, and we need to customize it to work for
Yes,
us.
it's gotta
So
make-
just know that that's, as far as the committee is concerned,
Yeah.
it needs to work for us and our
Make
students.
procedural sense.
Right, right. And then the last one, the perennial conversation about those fees that the students pay. It seems like a fee of up to $100. And Director Connie, you might remember this from the last time this policy came forward. Fees in and of themselves, especially when there's no waiver, make parking at the high school, makes it prohibitive to park at the high school. And I would think from a security perspective, we would want to make sure that as many of our students, I imagine not everyone who parks at the high school has a permit, right? For security purposes, we want to make it as easy as possible for students to get those permits in addition to be able to parking in the high school. So I would like to suggest that either we reduce it to something like $20 annually or not to exceed $20, or just zero it out and just make it really easy for the kids to get their parking permits and for staff to be able to track who is and isn't supposed to be in the parking lot.
Well, just having been part of the procedural implementation of this policy, the way it's worded with the parking fee must not exceed $100 annually does provide the administrator working with the student and the family flexibility to not go over that 100, but can make other
Is that
accommodations for
happening?
them to get up.
Is that happening now?
That's been my experience, yes.
Okay. So if a family were to say that they can't pay the $100,
Yeah, or based on all types of circumstances. 10th grader that gets their license in March, they're not going to necessarily be charged an annual fee for a few months of the school year. So that the designated administrator that's working with the student does have that flexibility to not extend past that $100 fee.
sure. And at the same time, we want everybody to have a parking permit, right? So having a fee right there is a barrier to that part of our security at the high school. What do you think, Tony?
I kind of agree with Dr. Belmont that the way it's worded, it gives some flexibility is not to exceed it, but then I also understand where you want to make it comparable to everybody, and so if you had just a flat fee, yeah, it would be fair to everybody. You know what I mean? Instead of being a judgment call.
Which, again, depends on who is there
Who's
and.
making the judgment.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I kinda-
exactly.
see both sides. I kind of like to give administration some flexibility too, I guess. But then, like you said, you bring up a valid point, so I guess I could go either way on that.
So should I bring it back when we have a full committee then, or?
Because we did just review this, and did we not decide that we were?
This was last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
January last year.
Yeah, I mean, so
January.
I think it's probably that question of how far should policy extend as far as prescribing it, or maybe the committee is just asking us to work as a school system and provide some directives and guidelines to the committee that's added as an addendum. However, there's so many pieces of policy that do have that administrative, the way I read it is our administrator can work within those guidelines. We have our student handbook, and then we are expected to not exceed asking our families for $100, or sorry, for more than $100 for an annual parking fee. So we can.
Agree to disagree.
Well, I'm not sure how we would do it through policy, but we can look at it, or perhaps it's those directives and guidelines in addition.
Well, and the fact that the fee is there, I
So
mean,
that would
right?
be the question, right? Like,
Yeah.
so the question is, so
suggesting
your
$20.
suggestion,
And,
just want a
Flat
flat
fee.
fee.
I'm thinking just a flat fee and make it easy for the kids to get the permit and for, the high school staff to be able to keep track of, okay, if there was a red whatever car that was seen, we have it in our systems. Oh, yeah, we know that, we've got
Right.
that license plate in that color and we can pretty much guess who it is.
we can look at that. Okay, so thank you for clarifying. So not necessarily all of the information within that under $100 and how that could look with flexibility, but instead just looking at that fee in
Just a
general.
flat.
Making it a flat fee.
Okay.
So do we need to have a discussion then on what the flat fee should be?
We should if we're going to make a recommendation to the rest of the board.
So then that's what we need to do. So
bring it
this
back.
needs to come back, yeah.
So I'll come back with 5.
Yes, okay.
Because it has to come back anyway.
Yes, as Director Connor said, is we just started the new year, so this is good. And I appreciate it, and thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no problem.
And I'd like you to just thank you for bringing that, another view of looking at that one paragraph. Let me get back to that.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
because I looked at it as just a regular school day also, the way I read it, until you pointed out a whole different point of view. And then it's like, oh, yeah, and I should realize that anytime something says only, that it should be looked at more closely, because there's always exceptions to an only.
No, you're
But
right.
I didn't, I was reading fast.
It's easy to do with policy.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else on policy 527 to be discussed? Okay, thank you, Dr. Beaumont. Moving on to policy 602, organization of school calendar, also
Thank you,
presented by you.
Director Connor. Policy 602, the organization of school calendar. It's also an update from our School Board Association, some additional language that also aligns to state statute. I direct you to Section 3, letter B, where districts are provided expanded latitude for circumstances starting the school year before Labor Day. So as you look through the policy, you'll see that we're not really changing our total amount of school days. We're not really changing any aspects of our policy except for the district has some more flexibility in certain circumstances to start prior to Labor Day. In addition to that, it's just some minor legal state statute references and updates to those headings. Any questions on the school calendar?
I just had a question about, it's on page 602, number 1. Let me see if I can get more specific. Yeah, number 1, under B1. When it says the school district may begin the school year at any day before Labor Day to accommodate construction or remodeling project of, and then it has the amount or more affecting the school district school facility. Can you just explain?
Yeah, it comes from statute language.
Oh, okay. Okay, so,
So it's like,
okay, I just thought that was kind of weird to throw
Usually-
that in there, but
some districts, if they have a capital project, they just won't be able to
open it.
complete that
Oh.
in time to safely have school start.
Oh,
So districts kind of have that latitude to potentially start earlier in order to get students out of school earlier, to have more of a season of construction.
Oh, okay.
Kind of come back aligned.
Okay, thanks. I just didn't
Yeah.
know where that came from.
Yeah, an example, I think, maybe the board enacted this when we did our Vision 190, but it has
We
come up in
didn't.
some,
Yeah, it's come up in other districts,
it's
for
come up in
sure.
other
Yeah,
districts, you know, you
yeah.
have the students release early start school earlier in order to release earlier to get a head start on a construction project.
Okay.
Spring.
Thank you. And Director Alt, do you have anything on
Nope.
policy 602?
No questions.
And you are,
One more, 801.
did you also say that, just for 602 real quickly?
Yes.
That you're going to be back with more updates? Did I hear that, or am I imagining that? Okay, no? Okay.
Unless the board would like 527 to come back.
Yeah, it was just,
No, that was that one. No, I'm thinking of, okay, I don't know why I wrote that in my notes. No, I'm not for 527. This is still 602, so disregard that.
Okay.
Okay, so we will move on to 801, and that is equal access to school facilities, and that's also
Yes.
presented by you.
Yes, 801 equal access to school facilities, which provides to make sure that we are granting that equal access to all secondary school facilities for students who wish to conduct a meeting for religious, political, or philosophical purposes, that we are not discriminating or against any students or groups, and providing that equal access. The changes are very minimal. See that a reference to requiring the principal to add the meeting to the district facility calendar has been removed. And then some changes to some of the legal references and the cross-references. Other than that, it was already closely aligned to the MSBA's latest recommendations.
Seems pretty straightforward. Director Alt?
Yeah, I just had a question on number 6, the reasoning behind removing, adding the meeting to the district facility calendar.
Yeah, I mean, what I heard there was that the specificity of that recommendation wasn't necessarily feasible for practice for our principals. We have a district facility calendar, and we typically do use those processes, but it isn't necessarily something that needs to be controlled by the principal through that procedure.
Got it.
Five.
Well, and it might not be a principal, too, right?
Yeah.
It could be a department head or something.
Correct.
So, yep, makes sense. Thank you.
We believe the other 5 components inside 5D will lead to that accountability that the policy is asking for.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, no other comments. Moving on to policy 206, public participation in school board meetings, complaints about persons at school board meetings, and data privacy considerations. And that's presented by, is that also presented by you?
Me.
By you, okay.
Thank you, Director Connor, Director Alt. So Director Alt did propose some language changes at the last policy committee and sent it to us. And so on 5-6 listening session protocol was replaced with must. And number 9, that the video and audio recordings of listening sessions are prohibited. Just wanted to share that the act of recording is not illegal. The board can change the policy that a meeting cannot be recorded. So one of the implications is if this is passed, then we'll change the listening session directions. to explain that. And so we'll work on that particular language to see how board members would like to share that during the listening session. And also that this would include any media that comes to is another implication.
And I guess my question with that, because when I made the suggestion, I hadn't thought about media. And of course, media has kind of a special place in our society. So maybe that'll be a broader conversation among the board when this comes forward in terms of, is there some sort of special, is there language that might need to be added to say, media who completes, confirmed media that completes an application 30 minutes before the listening session may be approved by the superintendent or something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
Aaron, we did discuss that implication, so I included it. So I didn't know if you wanted to add on that. So Director Alt said there may need to be something, accommodation or different for the media.
Or at least to discuss it. Yeah, I don't know.
To discuss it. Yeah.
There wouldn't really be any way to distinguish between the media and any normal person. So I don't know how we would set up that sort of a delineation. And then managing that, I mean, if we ask people to apply or
Yep.
something like that, how do we decide and who has to manage that whole process? It's just a lot of administrivia.
No, you make a good point, because just because somebody says they're media may or may not mean that they are.
Or they are automatically because all they're doing is reporting on a publicly
Right.
occurring event.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So we just wanted to share those implications.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on 206? Okay, policy 404. Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, wait a minute. Too many papers here.
Okay,
a
404, employment background checks,
Just a minute. I had,
presented by our Dr. Battle, superintendent.
here we go. I had all that graduation requirements in the middle here. Okay. So 404 is the MSBA 2022 update. It's non-substantive. They updated legal references that you will find under C, Section 3, under procedures, spelled out Minnesota, and then also under the legal references, the changes.
And I have no question or comments about 404.
Nor do I.
Okay, and moving on to 702.
Then we go to the 700 series, several of them.
Yes.
So let me.
First one being accounting.
Okay, wait a minute. I got 529. 702
702.
accounting? I have 703 first. I'm sorry.
That's the audit.
Apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, accounting.
It's quite a stack this time.
Yeah, MSBA 702 is non-substantive, bringing same thing, legal references to.
Any comments on that one?
Yep.
No questions.
Okay. More questions? Whoops, oh, my computer's, okay. 703, the annual audit.
Okay, there we go, annual audit. Also non-substantive changes, it is updating the references. You will see under 3F, added by resolution. So that is a change to your annual audit. And then spelled out Minnesota and statute and chapter, and then they added the legal references that prompted the changes, that by resolution. It was under statute now.
Okay. All right, moving on to 704. Let me get to, okay, Department of Maintenance of an, inventory of fixed assets and fixed accounting system.
This one I'm going to bring back to the committee. We have information that is different from the MSBA recommendation from our auditors.
Okay.
So for example, if we purchased $1 million of computer equipment and each computer costs $500, according to this, you you did not have to put it as a capital asset. That's different information coming from auditors, so we want to double check.
Great.
Okay. So that you'll be bringing back.
Okay.
Okay. And any questions or comments on 704?
No questions.
705, so hang on a second.
Another one, non-substantive, updating references, spelling out Minnesota statutes chapter, and then different legal references, and deleted a cross-reference to all the MSBA service manuals don't exist anymore, so,
Like they kind of cleaned up the wording.
yes.
Okay. Questions or comments?
I do have one, I do
Okay.
have one change. At the top of 705-2, we need to change that title from Executive Director of Business Services to Roman numeral 5, Delegation of Authority.
Oh, thank you.
Pesky little title.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're changing it from, oh, yes.
Doesn't exist.
Okay. All right.
Other than that, I had nothing.
Okay. All right, moving on to 706, acceptance of gifts, presented by Dr. Battle.
Okay. Non-substantive, also updating references under legal references. Statute change to general powers of independent school boards. And gifts to municipalities.
Okay. And we mentioned, well, it seemed like not too long ago in the year, but anyway, I have nothing on the policy 706.
I just had a question as to why the two 191 policies are highlighted. Is that just, I don't think they're changing.
No, they
Okay.
aren't. No. That's a mistake, the highlighting.
Just highlight.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. And, okay, moving on to,
Unless, you know, the only thing, unless MSBA, she probably highlighted it because it's not on MSBA.
Oh,
So we're
yeah.
cross-referencing ours.
Oh.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
Note, like, the differences.
Yeah.
I figured it was something, there
Getting
was
kind of
something
wonky
like.
with that.
some reason why, yeah.
Because as you shared, sometimes we change the policy, so we're trying to figure out a way to,
Just because Stacy's new, we got somebody new.
yeah,
and just take a look at 'em.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to policy 707, which I believe we have some,
I have that too.
yes, and we have some comment on
So,
that, so go ahead.
non-substantive, but I do need to point out, they did make some changes and changed commissioner and crossed out some Minnesota statute. You'll see through that. I do want to point out section, okay, wait a minute. Definitions changed. For eligibility, so the MSBA policy references the state statute that says if we receive a request for a resident who resides 2 miles or more from school, we must provide transportation. However, to make the board aware, that would have been in red, but the board currently says it's 1.5 miles, so we removed the red. But just so awareness for new board members. So it's not exactly like the MSBA, except for that piece. MSBA defaults to the state statute.
Okay, and you had some discussion on that?
Nope, because it was changed. The changes were removed. Or what I saw as changes were removed.
And, yeah, they just deleted handicap, the word handicap, okay. And then, moving on to policy 710, extracurricular, I can't even say it, curricular, transportation?
Another non-substantive, updated the references, Minnesota statutes under legal references and remove the cross-references for the MSBA service manual. And once again, you see the highlight of our school district policy, that was added locally, not MSBA. So let me know if that's how you prefer.
That's
Maybe the
great.
yellow, because I
Yeah.
could have done that with the previous one, eligibility.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. As long,
So we want
As
to
long
show
as we
you
know
what's
what the
the
color
MSB
coding means,
update,
yeah.
but then have, but not change what you've already put. Okay. All right. That's 7:10.
That's 7:10.
yep, and I had no questions on that one.
Okay,
Okay.
me either. Okay, 7:11, video recording on school, get the rest of it on school buses.
Non-substantive update references. Once again, in B2, spelling out words such as Minnesota. There was, and I defer to the school district, the board, they changed 4 and 5, but 4 is now, you have to keep it until re-looped or the continuation of disciplinary proceedings. So that is a change for our district, for districts.
So
Yeah.
your experience with our use of videos and the need to retain it
Yeah,
longer?
I think, I'll have to look at because the length of the tape and how often they have to replace it, so, yeah, that may be a significant change to our practice.
I mean, if it makes sense.
Because disciplinary proceedings could, as you know, can go all the way to an expulsion,
Yep, yep. So
and that's a long process.
it is a long process, so maybe,
Yeah. Okay. So MSBA considers that non-substantive, but I think the implications, again, we'd have to work with our transportation partner.
do you want to bring it back?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Yep, so you had the full information. Let's bring that one back.
Yeah, whichever works best for you guys.
Yeah, I think this best, just to make sure we can implement it.
Yep.
If you pass it.
Oops, that was 11.
And other than buses.
Okay. Anything else on 7:11? Okay, and policy 7:12. Let me get the reading on that one. 7:12.
Same non-substantive, updating the references again, spelling out the legal codes, the statutes.
Is it just me, or did that just seem kind of redundant to the 7:11?
No, this is outside of the buses.
Oh.
So if we have a video camera of our front entrances, yeah.
Okay.
People walking in, if there's something, we have to have is appropriate security safeguards with Minnesota Data Privacy Act.
Great. Any questions on 7:11? 7:12, I'm sorry.
Not even 7:12.
Okay. And 7:13,
713.
just student activity accounting.
Non-substantive also, updating references. In fact, it's just a number under legal references, and they removed the student activity handbook. We removed that.
I have nothing on 7:13.
I just had a comment.
It's accounting, so I don't know why. Go ahead.
Page 713, 3. B. Number 5. I guess I never picked up on the fact that there's no effort by and maybe this is in the regulations and the directives. The policy doesn't seem to reflect that the district reaches out to the students to let them know that they have a balance. And I don't know, it feels to me that if, the district should at least attempt to let the student and family know that they have a balance before the district takes the money and adds it to our general fund after they graduate. because the student raised the money. I mean, it's kind of a philosophical thing. And then if nobody responds, then, I don't know what you think, Tony.
I agree. I mean, no reason not to.
Would you mind?
Yeah, now look and see if
Checking.
that's ever happened before, because usually those seniors, they try to spend all. But some language to reflect that we will notify members of the graduating class,
That they've got a balance.
that they have a
great.
balance,
Yeah.
like the officers of the senior class, maybe.
Exactly.
We'll make it more specific, not just the whole class, maybe.
Well,
Right.
I mean,
Or
I think
all of them. Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to just notify the officers, because I don't know what they would do with the
Right.
information.
Now, do we have a separate, is it in the gift policy? So maybe I want to look, because it says according to the district gift or donation. So I'm wondering if it's in there.
Oh, yep, we can check that.
Do we have a reference to that, Jamie?
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe
Yep.
there's a reference.
Let me see if there is one for gifts. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there is, because we give you that gift.
You're checking 706? You just reviewed that. Acceptance of gifts.
Let's
Okay, so I'll bring it back, because I want to look to see if it's in
see that.
706.
Oh, there it is, yeah. Burnsville,
Because it may already be in
706.
there
It
for the
Acceptance of
gifts.
gifts,
Under-
yeah.
Acceptance of
It
gifts.
is.
Let's see
Yep.
if it's in there that we have to notify anybody with an account. Okay. So you got that one? We'll bring that back. Okay.
Okay, and the last one, 720 is just
720,
vending
vending
machines. Vending machines.
Yep, non-substantive also. Made some changes on the purpose, that it's in the school district. Also, number 3, authorization. They wanted to distinguish what type of vending machine. Automatic. I don't
Is there anything
know
other
of a
than?
non-automatic. I thought about that too. What's a non-automatic vending machine? I'm sure somebody will let us know. And then, and then you also will see strike through under 4B. And also 5, they once again spelled out the legal references. And then legal references, they updated the names.
Okay. My only comment was on that authorization number 3, page 720-1. I'm wondering why this.
Authorization?
Yeah.
Number 3? Okay.
Yeah. And the paragraph was just right under authorization, where it strikes out, it must be approved by superintendent. It struck superintendent out and put school board. Why would the school board be concerned with vending machines as opposed to the superintendent?
I think that's an update in the statute, and so to let you know, we have one contract, so.
And I remember when the contracts did come to the board, I'm pretty sure. And then they stopped because statute changed. And so it's just kind of funny to see. And maybe it was just a practice internally to the district. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
so
yeah, so
statute
they'll come back
change.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's just-
So it's going to just come to the school board as opposed to just you?
yeah, but, we vet it and we put it together, so, but it's just one, so it's not multiple, that
Oh, and
helps.
even approving I remember reviewing the food that went into, do you remember? That went into the vending machines. I was like, okay, well, this is just getting way too granular.
Well, that's what I think. I mean, just,
But I will check, but.
I mean, it just
think
seems
it's
like that's something you could handle without a whole board. But that's just my opinion as a new member. Oh, I'm not new anymore. really.
You're not new anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the big change.
I mean, we
School
have so many
board.
other bigger issues to worry about than just some food in a vending machine.
Well,
It seems like you could handle that instead of being stricken. But that's my opinion.
And if it's in statute.
yeah, and they changed it to, if you look at that statute 471, uniform municipal. So municipal means cities and
Yeah,
counties
yep.
too.
Yep.
So I wonder if that's part of it.
Probably to,
Okay. Okay, well, if that's the way it has to be, then that's it. Okay.
All right.
All right, so now we will just review. Okay, go through all this. Whoops, hang on. Gotta go back to that.
Good notes.
Yeah, I took notes.
Good notes. There's a long list.
Yes,
here.
consent or action. Okay, so, starting with 802. I believe since that was just a reference and only a dollar amount was changed, and I know it's first reading, but can that be consent?
Consent.
And 613,
It's a
first
lot.
reading, because we had some action on that.
This is
527,
Bring
Return to
back.
policy.
Yep.
Pardon?
Bring back.
Return to policy review.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's action on that one, yep. So do you call that action or review? Because it's, to me, it's kind of, I mean,
Back to policy.
huh?
That's coming back to policy.
Yeah, so then that's, you're reviewing, so that's action, right? Am I terming it right, or I'm not terming
It
it
just
right?
comes back.
Okay, just say call it.
Return.
Same.
Yep.
Return to policy, okay, good. And 602, first reading. And because there's just a few paragraphs change, 801. I think that only had, that was pretty straightforward, we only had a line in the
So
reference that was
consent.
changed, so that can be consent. 206, that could be consent.
That one's
Ah,
already on first. It's on the upcoming board meeting.
And it would be first read.
First reading, okay, I have first reading first, and then I thought since we, okay. And 702. Only change were the words in the reference, so 702 can be consent. 703, even though that was first reading, a couple of words were changed though, besides just the updated, so I'm not sure if that's consent or first reading, but to me it would be consent.
Consent.
Consent? Okay. 704,
Bring back.
definitely, yeah, that's a,
Return.
yep, so to me that's action, so you say
Return.
bring back,
Yep. Return to the committee.
return, yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna put that return instead of, okay, anyway. Return to committee. To board. Okay, and 705, first reading. And 706, they only had some cross-reference changes, so consent. 707, we remove
Return.
for, pardon?
Why do I have
we-
return for that one?
707 I have consent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was no more, we were gonna remove, we thought we were gonna
Alright.
have discussion on that, but, so no, let's consent then.
Okay.
Consent.
7.
Okay, 710, only reference changes, so consent. 711, first reading,
That's the one I'm
yeah,
going
That's the
to
one we're
check.
bringing back.
so bringing
Remember,
back.
because I want to make sure we can implement that relooping on the buses.
Okay, so bringing back.
Return to
Return.
policy. Yep. Okay.
And 712,
Consent.
there were some
Consent.
changes in the reference, but also in some of the words, so, first reading.
Is that consent?
That should be consent.
Consent,
Should be
okay.
consent.
All right then,
Yeah.
we like that. And, so let me change that. Okay, and, but there were more words changed in that too, but just, okay, but it's consent, okay, I'm not gonna argue about it. 713. I didn't put anything down for that one.
Consent.
Okay. Didn't put any notes.
Hey,
Okay,
Coming back.
it is?
I had that one question. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
bringing back, okay. I don't know why I didn't write anything for that.
On the
Return-
gift, remember I went across with the gift if we notify the graduating class.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't write a note on that one. Okay, and then 720, and that's also gonna be, wait, no, that one's gonna be
Vending machines, that's
Consent?
consent. Yeah.
Did we mention 404?
We did not.
Did I miss 404? Oh, I did miss 404, sorry. 404 is, only words were changed in, reference, so consent. And then 720, back to 720, I wrote
Consent.
that we're, okay, that's
That's the
consent?
vending machine one,
So
right?
fund balance
Okay,
must
yeah.
have been pulled.
Yeah.
14,
Yeah,
okay.
mhm. Yes, AC wants to present that one. Yes.
All right, so the last one,
Details,
720 is
financial stuff.
consent. Okay. So that's it. Review. So review is going to be bringing back. Okay. No other comments? The policy meeting for January 24th is adjourned at, is that 5?
6:02.
Look on here. I can't see it. Okay, we're adjourned.